This episode of the Council of the First Ones was recorded on March 27th, 2021.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Council of the First Ones. I'm Kelly, joined by Dave from Adult Collector. How are you, Dave?
I am doing great. It is Christmas right now in my household because I got my Big Bad Toy Store orders in the mail and my Amazon pre-orders in the mail, so I'm a very happy camper.
Well, I heard it's also Christmas over at Shawn's house, too. Or is it a mini PowerCon?
I honestly think for all three of us, one way or the other, in the last couple of weeks, it's been a good Christmas in March. So, I'm doing a little catch up on my collection. I managed to get the Rebel Leader He-Man and the Dark Despot Skeletor that I have been missing from my shelf. So I'm really happy to get those guys in. So yeah, happiness ensues. Happiness ensues.
Well,
so how have you been?
I got a lovely little gift from Texas. Well, I can't say little. Trying to make room for a mountain in my toy collection, which I love, Snake Mountain, and I'm so grateful that Amanda, Renee's daughter, decided that it needed a home with someone who would truly love it. Also, I got my Uno cards from Masters of the Universe and my She-Ra from Big Bad Toy Store. Ugh. So, yeah, it was Christmas time again for me, too.
Congratulations. That is literally huge.
Yeah.
I know. It's still in the regular box. I took it out of the 2 shipping boxes. I figured during spring break I'm going to have fun.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a good problem to have. Okay, where do I fit this? I'd rather have that as a problem than just be sitting there going, but I don't have it. You know, like, I'm happy I have Grayskull, but that's awesome that you have Snake Mountain to add to the collection and have the good with the evil.
I still haven't opened mine. I'm thinking, well, when I have more room.
I hear that the Land Shark for Origins has finally hit the stores.
It's finally washed up to our mailboxes.
When I was seeing it on Dan's review, I'm just thinking of the Jaws theme song,
right?
And hearing Land Shark from the 80s commercial.
Everybody is so excited in the MOTU community right now that Amazon and Big Bad Toy Store, they're finally shipping out their pre-orders for Wave 4 of the Origins line. That includes Strata, Hordak, Ninjor, and I'm cheating now. I'm looking in my mini comic Triclops. And I'm just seeing this flood of photos and happy messages on the Origins fans group. It's a wonderful experience.
But we also have to realize that, yes, distribution is going to be on and off because there is that backlog of boats trying to dock on the West Coast coming from China. They just can't get them in and unload it fast enough, they said, and that it could go for another 2 months with things coming out slowly, not just toys, but everything, because of all the shutdowns and the docks being closed during the height of the pandemic. They're just reopening now, and they're working around the clock.
We're not affected by the Suez Canal thing, right?
As far as I know, unless they were recently hired.
I think we're good.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
It's mostly affecting shipments going to Europe and products going to Europe. So if you're ordering something from Europe that's made in China, you might have that distribution problem for a little while a certain boat gets back in the water.
Sure. So what about the two of you? Have you received your...
I know with mine, I held off a little bit. I figured I wanted to wait.
Mm-hmm.
So for now, I'm on pause with my Origins.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Shawn.
Well, I was just going to say that I get, like, here and there I'll pick up a few because the Origins aren't really my focus right now with my collection, but the other night I was at Target and I finally saw Roboto on the shelf and everything and a few others. Nice. I was like, oh, look at that, because it's still Central PA, Skeletor and He-Man, and I'm like, oh, look at that. I'm finally seeing some new people on the shelf. This is good. So,
the big treat that I've just found was the jet sled.
Oh, really?
Sky sled, it is. Yep.
Nice.
It finally hit Jersey, and I got it at a Target. And I have to admit, the Classics figures look pretty good on it.
Yeah, I was tempted with my own collection because I'm definitely more classic centric than Origins by any stretch, but yeah, when I saw that one, that had me a little more like, ooh, because that's a lot less of a price point than to get the classics version for it. So
I was gonna say,
see, and I didn't want the whole battle ram. I just wanted the sled.
Same here. I'm in the same boat.
Oh, you've got to get the whole battle ram. I mean, in terms of the classics one, Joe Amaro, he just did
everything he does.
Yeah.
I figured for just having an army builder and having him hang from the ceiling, I'm like, okay, this price point works.
Yeah, definitely.
I was going to say, if you're, collecting classics is fun. It's wonderful. I just feel like for me, it's definitely Origins, since it's the new thing. It's what everyone's collecting. It's a fantastic toy line. I mean, they're really just killing it with the mini comics. Especially this newest one, Sneak Attack, that comes with the Hordak wave of figures. It's a huge treat. I've been waiting for new mini comics for years, and this is just it's almost more interesting to me than the figures, which again are just wonderful to collect and play with, and I can't wait to see where Origins goes from here, and I really wanted to reiterate just how wonderful it is that the distribution is improving, because you're always we're always talking about how horrible the distribution is and this and that, and I just want to really highlight just how well Mattel's doing in terms of the overall design of the figures and trying their best to try to get these out to people.
Ever since Target took over from Walmart, I feel like I've seen a lot of new stuff versus going into Walmart, because they have Skeletor peg warming like crazy at the big Walmart locally, and like I said, Robota. Who else is in that wave? I can't say. I know there was
She-Ra, Merman.
I saw Merman. It was Merman and Ram or Roboto. I saw. And then obviously He-Man and Skeletor, and I'm just like, well, at least there's a couple new faces greeting me here in the toy aisle tonight instead of He-Man and just Skeletor. But no, and that's the thing. Like, I'm never gonna begrudge anybody that if they like them, that's completely cool, because hey, the more people that know these are out there, the more people that are getting involved in it, and also hopefully bringing their kids involved, and bringing their kids to the table with this too. If they have kids and they want to pass them on, and it's like I never am going to be that I hate them and all that stuff. I'm just, for me, the classics ones still do it for me, but I think Origins, for being like hey, guess what? He-Man is still out there and he's on the, it's like, it works for that reason alone for me. So, the new mini comic you mentioned, is that the one that Nate Barch helped with for the art on that?
I know that he helped with the previous one.
Okay.
It looks very much like his style, but I can't confirm it at this second.
That would. I'm sorry. I was just gonna say that's another reason I really want to get one of the figures in the newer waves, because I really like his art in general. So the fact that he's working on those just makes me go, oh yeah, $15 well spent, no matter what. Like you said, the mini comic aspect, that's cool. So
I'd easily pay the $15 just for the comic.
Yeah.
But
wait, do we want to give Mattel that idea though?
Hey, if they want to give us a pack of mini comics, and I've thought about this before, and they could make it really cool looking, packaging wise, fan them out a bit, and put them in a really thin bubble so it displays very nicely. These are wonderful, and it's just so much fun to see new characters that aren't in figure form yet, or accessories, like the staff of, I think it's called the Staff of Avion, right?
Right.
And Stratos is, the Avion Warriors, and Horde Troopers, and it just gets you, and Snake Mountain, it just gets you so excited, like, oh my god, when are we going to get this? When, Mattel needs to make this. And it's really clever how Robert Rudman, the writer, he has to, he's stuck with those particular characters. He has to make a comic, and in only 6 pages, he has to make a comic that focuses on those particular characters. And here, so they said, okay, we need you to write a comic that has Ninjor, Stratos, Triclops, Hordak, go. And he pulled it off brilliantly. I mean, this is just a masterpiece, really. I'm so thrilled with it.
That's one of those keys to creativity kind of moments. It's like you look at the limitations involved, and it actually makes you dig deeper to come up with something even more interesting than you would expect. Because that's the thing. Like, that 6-page deal is the killer. To me, it's telling a story within 6 pages, and that's impressive. So, honestly, for that price point we were talking about, if they want to come out with a graphic novel, Mattel, feel free. I'd be cool with that too in general, because $15 is about a graphic novel. I mean, they could just combine everything into something, or have like a special, put it out there, and it's like, complimentary to the mini comics or something. And put Nate on there. Put Nate on there. That would be amazing for me as a fan.
Definitely. And I know.
Mattel, I was going to say, hey, Mattel, call up Dark Horse. You've already got the relationship with all these books that have come out. And they sell. We're crazy.
Yeah.
I know that Val Staples, he's colored at least one of these, probably. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's colored all of them. The color's nice and just very professional, brilliant. It has kind of a classic comic book feel. It's just, a great story. And they get better every time. Every issue, every mini comic has been better than the last. So I really wish that they would take the opportunity with Castle Grayskull to make a large 22-page special mini comic that includes a whole bunch of characters. Not to say that the
Have you guys seen the new Mega Bloks set for Masters of the Universe?
Is it Mega Construx or Mega Bloks?
Mega Construx.
Okay.
It's funny because when you have a problem, you actually have to contact the Mega Bloks people, because they run the Mega Construx.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, that Battle Cat. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty.
That Battle Cat looks really cool, and I don't know, somebody said that it was designed to perfectly fit an Origins He-Man figure on top of it.
That's what I read too, and that it has, I think it was 16 points of articulation, almost 200 pieces, to build. It's coming out later this spring, early summer, so June, July. Up for pre-order on Amazon. And I'm looking forward to building my Battle Cat, and I'm almost tempted to buy a second kit just to paint it purple to have the Panther ready.
Yeah.
But figuring if they already have Battle Cat done, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't re-release the same kit, but making it Panther. It is a MOTU tradition to reuse as many parts as possible and make it feel like new.
I just can't wait for those fuzzy blocks to be in there and have people go like they're going through sensory craziness. It's like, okay, it's plastic, and then it's, oh my god, it's block. Oh my god, you know, if they do Panther. But yeah, that Battle Cat. I'm not normally somebody that likes building a real thing. Like when you build a castle or when you build a vehicle, you know, and all that, that's one thing. But then when you build like here's a cat, you know, but when you look at that, it's like, no, it actually works really nicely. And it looks like there's going to be a heck of a lot of articulation, for something like that, which is.
I'm really enjoying the whole MOTU collection. I mean, I look forward to more of those sets than my Origins.
I was a late bloomer to that line. I had the Wind Raider for a while. I did a trade like about a year or two ago, and that was part of what I got in the trade. And I ended up going out recently, and at Walmart they had the Battle Armor. Is it Battle Armor? Skeletor and Panther? No, just regular Skeletor and Panther. And I got the flocked one. And then I got the He-Man, Beast-Man 2-pack and all that. So it's like, now I'm starting up again. And I was telling David before we recorded, I'm like, if it happened within 5 years, I'm probably catching up at this point. And that's kind of where I am in my life right now. So I'm finding like the Battle Armor He-Man set with Merman and everything. So it's like, the Battle Cat one probably will be on my radar within the next year, I'd say. But for right now, I'm like going back and getting the ones that I can too. But those, they captured the essence of Masters really well in that line. And a buddy of mine was telling me that, and I didn't believe him. And now I'm like, okay, you know, like if we made a bet, I'd owe you $5 now, because I actually it's pulling me in, and I'm seeing why everybody's saying so many nice things about it.
Yeah. I just, you know, I'm looking forward to getting Castle Grayskull. You know, I was planning to just take mine and pull some parts off of it to, you know, to customize a vintage playset, but I don't know. Maybe I'll keep one untouched just because it really does fit the overall look of the figures, being bright and, you know, a little toned down age wise. But but going back to Mega Construx, I wonder, you know, how, you know, looking at that Battle Cat set that's $40, I wonder what a He-Man or a Skeletor might look like in that same style.
That would be cool.
Well, I actually hope they would do it in that style, because a while back, I'm talking maybe 6-7 years ago, they came out with a He-Man and Skeletor that size of a pop that you could build.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't look right. They looked more like the block figures, and I know my Skeletor is still in the box. My He-Man, I took apart.
Were they called Roblox or something like that? Robolocks or something? I can't remember. I know what you're talking about, because every time I went into Toys R Us, they were at the end cap of that aisle, and I'd see them. Right. It would be like, and I'd walk away. They were a little freaky looking.
Well, they were trying to get into that pop idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it just didn't work because it was also, they had Star Trek, Jean-Luc Picard, Halo, and
Yeah, it's like you're building your own version of an Atari graphics He-Man and Skeletor in a sense.
No,
you know?
it was worse than the Atari graphics.
Well, that was the best way I could describe it, even because I can't even. It really was. It was almost like He-Man looked like he was in the screen painting because his mouth was open and all that. And that was part of it. I'm like, I don't need that. And I mean, Skeletor made more sense. But even that, it wasn't enough for me to want to even get it. Even when Toys R Us was going out of business, I was like, I'm good.
They look pretty ugly.
Yeah, there was nothing about them visually where I needed to have that. I'm not a completist in any way where it's like if it says Masters on it, there's a 99% chance I'll be. Do I really need it? Do I not? Because I'm more like storybooks, comics, figures. I'm that guy more than anything else. But I will admit something. I will admit something real quick that I did this week that I did not expect to do, and it's a little slight tangent. But Funko has out the giant pops now. They have the Skeletor and the Beastman. I found a He-Man at Walmart, and I picked them up and said, "You're coming home with me." So now that I'm like, what am I doing? I don't buy this stuff, but I'm like, there was something about that He-Man with the battle axe and the shield, and the fact that his hair was even the original wavy kind of like windblown hair and all that. I was like, oh God, I couldn't resist. So it's like I'm getting that. I got that now. I want the Skeletor, and it's like now I'm getting the Mega Construx. Like, oh, what am I doing to myself right now?
Have fun, Alex.
Exactly, having fun.
Go to Target. The Funko's on sale. Buy two, get one free.
Oh, don't start. Don't tell me that. Well, I could be weak depending if I have money.
No. I know my Target, they're holding I'm trying to remember which Skeletor, but it was like $5. They're like, I said, I'll take a look at the other one.
Oh,
there's Skeletor on the throne. I don't know what it is. I've always wanted the Filmation throne for my Skeletors. Now I have two of them.
It's like as we were compiling the stuff for this episode, we can see it's like there hasn't been a huge amount of news, but the amount of stuff coming out is like it's like the 80s all over again. It's like Masters is on everything right now.
I was thinking
it's
of that.
Awesome.
I was thinking how MOTU at Mattel is a main brand.
Again, it took them a while, but they're finally getting it back in there. Yeah,
like officially, and this is the results. And I really hope that they can they can pull something together with that.
Hey, I'm just happy we're getting two brand new cartoons, and I feel like a kid in a toy store every time I go to Target or Walmart because I can find MOTU now.
Yeah, I know.
Also, speaking about toy aisle, I know I just got my Uno deck from Big Bad Toy Store, and for their MOTU edition, Mattel actually added a new rule. Well, there's a new card where they have the Grayskull, Castle Grayskull, and a player can play this card and say at the same time, by the power of Grayskull, and every other person at the game has to take 3 cards.
Awesome.
So I can already see this is going to be banned at my next family game night, like the last Uno.
Well, now they need a Snake Mountain card.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised that there is a Snake Mountain. It is a draw 4, but Castle Grayskull has its own special rule.
That's pretty cool. The artwork
is fabulous.
Oh yes, yeah, very impressed with the artwork. And I was at Target the other day and noticed they are making so many versions of Uno.
Yeah.
Like, there's a whole wall of them. It was crazy. I didn't know that many people wanted to play Uno, but whatever.
Hey, when you do a progressive Uno game and you hit someone with 36 cards because they ran out of draw twos and draw fours, it can get very messy.
Mm-hmm.
We could have a MOTU Uno tournament at PowerCon.
Yeah. That could be part of it. It's like they can have like couple hours session. People just have tables and they're right there just going nuts. Yeah. It'll be fun.
Well, we're getting the Fields of Eternia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And hey Val, I think we have a new room that you need to set up.
Yeah.
Well, everybody would just steal the Fields of Eternia because you can't get those in the U.S.
Exactly.
But we are getting the other board game from, let's see, that one was from publisher Come On, which is the board game. And then we've got Legends of Grayskull, the RPG, like kind of a D&D type game. That's from Tabletop Fandom. Yeah.
I mean, we could really expand this and have a lot of fun.
The only one that I feel they need to figure out a way to do it at this point is doing an Xbox PlayStation game finally. I mean, I know they did the one in 2000X and that was only like European release or whatever, but I've been playing a lot of that with my kids lately and they love Batman, they love Sonic, and they love Ghostbusters. And I'm like, man, how awesome would it be to have a He-Man game that my son wants to play and rip around Eternia on Battle Cat and like protect everything. I mean, he would go ballistic and that'd be a heck of a gateway drug. You know, a horrible thing to say, but it's a heck of a way to get a kid into that world because when my kids now, they know Hugo Strange from Batman. They know Catwoman. They know Poison Ivy. They know Penguin, Black Mask. And I'm like, my son's 4 and he can rattle off these names and tell me exactly what they do in the game and why they're the villain of Batman. And I'm like, why is Masters needs to figure this out. Mattel needs to license it and get a quality game out there too, because that's kind of my speed right now. Like the Legends of Grayskull one is definitely one I'm curious to play because I've never done role playing. But the fact that you can create those characters and they have templates for them, and so that's like cool. That's a lot of good stuff. And then obviously there's the Uno game on top of that and stuff. It's like then you got everything. You got like the whole multimedia side of the gaming aspect if you go that direction.
That's
we don't know. They might be doing that behind the scenes and just haven't announced it or leaked something out. Or the famous only in a movie year.
Well, the thing is, they could say that, and I'm sure that if there was a movie, hopefully there would be that tie-in. But the fact that the 2 cartoons are coming out this year, that makes me go like, you really need to jump on this then, because I know with She-Ra, they timed it weird with like the product release. They had books coming up, but then when the dolls came out, it was kind of like, the momentum was gone. Whereas now we're having, especially the one that's aimed at children, that one to me, it's like that translates to perfectly to a video game. I mean, if you rode around on Battle Cat looking like that He-Man, I'd sit there and play that with my son, no problem. And I'm sure he'd have a blast. So cross fingers, maybe by the end of the year I'll be like, oh, hey, guess what we got now? That's awesome.
I don't have any hopes for a video game, but it would be wonderful. And now is a great time for it. They're coming out with some great retro games. There's the new G.I. Joe, game, and the Ninja Turtles Revenge of Shredder video game looks. Yeah. I can't wait to play the heck out of that. Maybe it will take a movie to get us there, probably. But we'll see. Yeah.
I would love to be able to share that at this point because both of my kids are very, very much video game people now. When they have free time, they love to just mess with that. And It's like, I'd love to be able to hear my son go, Daddy, can I play He-Man now? And I'd be like, yes, like, I will play with you. Let's do this. Skeletor's going down. I would just be in heaven to be able to share it, because that would only make it, because the other thing I noticed, Mattel, if you're listening, if my son's playing the Batman game, after he's done playing the game, he wants to find his figures. And then he wants to play like he's playing the video game using his figures. And that is something that I think would bridge a gap too, because the technology takes a lot more of the focal point. So there you go. You got that, like I said, the multimedia aspect of this, I think would serve this brand amazingly now that it's getting some traction again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to mention that, Shawn Ayala is making that video game. It's not official. It's a He-Man and the Masters of the Universe video game. His social media account is at PlayMotu, and you can look at the website playmotu.com. And he just this past week released the second beta test, which is the second level of the game, where you're basically fighting the minions of Merman, and trying to get to the end of the level and fight Bakul, and just straight out of the Filmation cartoon. And yeah, it's the demo or beta that he offers for free it's a bit rough, but it's still a lot of fun, and it just shows you the work that he's putting into it, and I can't wait to see what the end result is.
That's awesome.
And I love that it's in the 8-bit, where it makes me feel like, okay, I'm back as that 80s kid playing it.
Oh yeah.
All I miss is the cartridge to slam into the Atari to do. I am dating myself.
No. I grew up with Atari too. I haven't gone through every generation, but I definitely.
I still have the original Atari, and it still works in perfect order.
Now, see, I would enjoy that. That would not be a problem either. I ended up getting rid of my Atari to pay for my Nintendo as a kid. So that was kind of like, it's like, you got the one, now move forward to the next or whatever. But yeah, that game in particular.
I have all of my game systems still in working order.
Nice. Yeah, see, I don't. So I'm very jealous at this point, because there's definitely some games where I'm like, man, back in the day. But, when I was a kid, I remember going into the arcade, and there was a game called Rostam. And when you played it, the guy looked kind of like Conan. But when I played it, in my head, I'm like, this is as close to He-Man as I'm getting. So I'm playing this as He-Man, and I would just do that. That was it. And so, that's why it's like, man, out of anything I could think of that would be an amazing holy grail of, here, you finally have this, it would be a game, I think. More than it, because we already had the live action movie, love it or hate it, it's there. We have cartoons, we have comics, we have toys, all that. It's like, give me that video game finally that I could put into an Xbox One or a PlayStation 5 and just get, I'm in Eternia, I'm riding a battle cat, I'm across the fields, and we got to get to Grayskull, and oh my God, I'd have such a blast.
It's pretty remarkable how much bad luck we've received with the few MOTU games that are out there are not really that good. I mean, there's the highlight would be Tappers of Grayskull.
I think that would be it.
Or there was one before that everybody swears by. That one's. And unfortunately, I didn't know about that when I did play Tappers. I'm like, is that all I'm doing? I'm just tapping and that lasted 5 minutes before I'm like, I don't need this. But the other one sounded pretty cool. If I ever got my hands on that one from the 2000X, I would actually enjoy playing it. But there is that part of me where I'm like, I feel like that's the most untapped potential they could do for this brand. But we'll see. I mean, they got Uno going. So we got that. There's at least that. Let's move forward. Because I was thinking Monopoly, and I'm like, I guess Hasbro owns that, right?
Yes.
So that's out of the question. So.
Yeah, most of your board games are owned by Hasbro because they bought Parker Brothers. There is one more prop replica coming out in the 1/4 scale. Factory Entertainment did announce that they are doing Tila's snake staff. And they're actually giving away a whole set of their 1/4 scale MOTU replicas.
Yeah, they look really good. I just kind of wish that they were, sized so we can just display them with our Classics figures or Origins figures. I don't personally.
I think the two staffs, the Havoc staff and the Snake staff, they should work with the Classics. I know the swords won't because swords are out of proportion.
Right. Well, it reminds me of those sword letter openers that we received.
From Icon.
Yeah,
Icon Heroes.
These look better. I mean, they look super tempting, even though I can't really think of any use for them. They look beautiful, like jewelry, I guess.
Yeah, I'm very tempted on getting the staff. I haven't decided whether or not I'll order it. I mean, I entered the contest. I figured, what is... I mean, I am getting the Havoc staff 1-to-1 scale.
Yeah, that's right. You did that. You pulled the trigger.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I figured I like purple. Bad guys always have a little fun.
That's true. Well, other than, I'm guessing the Sword of Protection is also on your list. If that gets made, is there any other ones that they could make that you wouldn't be able to say no to?
Probably the Sorceress's staff.
Oh, okay.
That one I'd love. I mean, that one really stands out. It was one of the reasons why I wanted the 2000X Sorceress, just because of her staff, because I'm like, that is really cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in the vintage line, she really didn't have, I mean, she did have a staff, but it was very plain. And I like that Egyptian feel that it had.
Well, they could give us King Hiss's staff.
That's true.
Easily.
Or He-Man's shield. They could do quite a few of them.
The battle.
Oh, easily. When you start thinking about what they could do, it's like, ooh, yes, we could have our own weapons rack.
Yeah, I'm going down the rabbit hole just looking at my shelf right now and going, well, what else would I like?
What else can I use?
Well, I'm looking at, the movie Power Sword. I think that's a nicely designed one. And then even like the movie Skeletor Havoc staff, or the movie, the bat sword he has at the end of the movie and all that. So it's like, those already would be on the list on top of just the Power Sword for me. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, there's a lot more replicas. Well, I don't know if you guys realize Dan finally has a physical copy of his book, 3 years in the making, which means it will be shipping out shortly to people who've pre-ordered it. How excited are you to get the toys of the Masters of the Universe?
Yeah, I heard he got his book. I'm not sure if it's the 2-pack that was offered by PowerCon.
It is the 2-pack.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. I don't know if they're still up for sale. I didn't go and check that. But I do know international buyers can order the 2-pack from Big Bad Toy Store if they want to get the 2-pack to save on shipping instead of ordering it directly through PowerCon. But if you just wanted the main book, that will be available all over.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't go with the toy book first. You know, we've received a character compendium. We've received a book, you know, a collection of the newspaper comic strips. And, of course, you know, it must have been a tremendous amount of work to get the photos together for this one. But, I'm sure that they're going to knock this one out of the park. It's going to be the perfect coffee table, you know, book for every Master of the Universe fan.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually not surprised they didn't do that first, to be honest, because I remember listening, he was on Roast Google when they were still compiling it, and he was saying, you know, all the traveling he was doing, him and Val going to all these different places to meet collectors.
Oh, yeah.
Take these photos, and I remember, like, there were even some collectors where they were like, you have a knockoff, or you know, you thought it was this, but it's not what you're saying it is. And you know, like, I wouldn't hate to be that guy to break people the news, boy. But Dan
I will say Dan is the sweetest person. If you have to get bad news, you want it delivered by Pixel Dan.
Well, he'll cut the first word, "Hey guys," and then the next thing you know, it's like you're just sitting there, you're like, okay, and you're smiling, and everything's fine and sunny and hunky dory. But yeah, like based on hearing that interview, I was like, yeah, I can't even, I don't even want to imagine the lengths they went to make this book work compared to, like, the mini comic one. It's like, that made more sense as, like, one of the first ones that they put out and all that. But yeah, I think it's great. I mean, you know, it's a one-stop shop. You can look at all this stuff, and you know, if you don't have the stuff from when you were a kid, you can look at it there and you can get nostalgic one way or the other over it. And also just, you know, seeing it, the main thing for me is, like, when I see the photos of the mint on card stuff, because man, does that bring back the memories. So that would be more, it's like, you look at the eBay prices, it's like, I'll just take the book. I'm happy. I'll be able to look at the photos and not break the bank to do this. So.
No, my big thing that I'm looking forward to with this book is seeing all the foreign released versions. Because they did have some slightly different versions. So I want to see how did they appear, because I heard that in India they were slightly different, even with the coloration. And especially in Mexico and Central America and South America, MOTU is huge.
Yeah.
Well, so that's going to give us a perspective of things that we never had.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of that, you know, the foreign stuff especially, would be things that many MOTU collectors have never even seen before.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, look at the recent post on Facebook about the 1987 keychains from Spain.
Yeah.
That was pitched to Mattel, and we never knew about that.
Yeah, I'm shocked that we're only hearing about these keychains all these years later, which they look amazing. I'm so saddened that we never received them, but it would be fun if something like that showed up in the book. But I don't know. It seems like this news is so fresh that it wouldn't be. Yeah.
Well, I'm not even sure if it would have been considered a toy or one of the novelties.
Oh, that's true.
Don't forget you had the Pez dispensers and all like that with the MOTU. Mm. So it might not be even in there. That could be a separate book itself.
Well, certainly.
Dark Horse, an idea for another book?
Well, certainly they could end up with a second toy book with all the new Mega Construx and Funko and Origins and everything coming out. Not to mention the Masterverse, whatever figures they come up with for that other Netflix, the kid Netflix cartoon.
Yeah. The end of the book is going to have to be continued.
Yeah,
and that just goes to the next one. Yeah, because what's the date of the stuff that is covering in the book? Is it just strictly the vintage line, or do they get into 2000X?
The book is covering everything from 1982 to Snake Mountain from the classics.
Classics, okay, so that's a heck of a lot of stuff. Then. Jeez.
And if you look on the side, there's little colored areas, so you could say, all right, I want to just look up 2000X and go to the 2000X section. It is set up almost like a teacher's guide where we'd have tabs saying, okay, This is the next unit. And the largest section is MOTU Classics.
Oh, geez.
Of course.
Okay, figuring a line that went 10 years.
Yeah.
That I don't think anyone at Mattel realized how passionate we are for this. And not one of them was at retail.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it more impressive because it was fan driven.
Yeah. Yeah, and by the time you found them at retail, like I know GameStop was selling some after Matty Collector ended, and there were people, I'd go to GameStop, I'd see them on the shelves, and I'd hear people going, there's a new He-Man line? It's like, oh. Come over here, let's have a talk. Let me tell you about this. And they did the Big Lots fiasco, which I know that was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
At one point. But other than that, yeah, it's amazing how that 10 years and hardly anything on the shelves in a toy store, and it went that far. That's crazy.
I still can't believe that they finally had a chance to put them in retail at Toys R Us, and instead of giving us actual He-Man and Skeletor figures, they went with odd mini comic variants. You know.
Well,
yeah.
Well, the idea was they were in 2-packs, and they were actually set up when it was MOTU versus the DC back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was the original idea. The only ones that weren't true was the She-Ra versus, I think it was Supergirl they had.
Yep.
Sure. I'm just saying they didn't put their best foot forward, and I won't get into the, lack of advertising and so forth, but it's just still an amazing thing that, the line lives.
But speaking about going back in time, in 10 days, a new Kickstarter program is launching, and us MOTU fans, I know all of us have heard about the return of Faker. Well, this is a Kickstarter program documenting the journey that James went on in order to make the Return of Faker cartoon that we've only seen Act 1 on, and that is Faking Filmation. I know I've already got my alarm set for when it goes live. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how much he's going to be able to show us. Of course, the Return of Faker has never been fully shown in public, unfortunately. He never received the permission to show it. So, I don't know what conversations, if any, he's had with Mattel recently, any breakthrough.
It is not Mattel that's holding it up. It's NBC Universal, who owns the Filmation library.
Okay.
They were the ones that sent in the cease and desist letter. So I don't know if they've changed it. It's also why if you go to Universal in Florida, you can run into She-Ra.
Right. Which is very cool that they do that. Yeah. That you can actually, they actually hire somebody to be She-Ra at the Universal Studios. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm hoping that we will see a lot more. I'm actually hoping that they would go into the process, how he broke down each scene, because the first act that I got to see at PowerCon 2018, I could swear I was watching a real Filmation cartoon. You could not tell the difference at all.
Yeah, I saw, I think it was actually on the Faking Filmation Facebook page, or either Rob McCallum or James shared it in the last week or so, where it was the moment where Skeletor activated Faker, and he was introducing all the evil warriors to him, and it was, you know, Faker just owning everybody. And I remember I'm watching that, and I'm just sitting there, and I was like getting sucked into them. And then it ended. I'm like, no, and I'm like, I gotta see more. So I mean, it's impressive to say the least. We just talked. We have James Eatock, who is obviously extremely passionate about Filmation, and the fact that he put his time and effort into creating this as like a love letter to what we grew up with. That in and of itself, and the way that they did it with the, you know, taking the Filmation animation and actually like redoing it to fit how they needed it to for the story. And then he was talking about, he took samples from different episodes, knowing the lines to make it fit within the story that they made, so they wouldn't need to recast voices. They could actually use the original voice actors and everything. I mean, that's like, I mean, talk about Herculean. I mean, that's amazing. Yeah. And the fact, you know, like I felt horrible when they said that he couldn't do anything with it. So now the potential, it's like he's got my money based on that. I'm definitely going to be joining Kickstarter on it and helping to fund it because, yeah.
I was there at the 2019 PowerCon when he got the news. I mean, it literally broke his heart. Mm-hmm. I mean, he tried to hide it, but those of us who know him could just see it in his eyes, how it just drained him and killed him inside. And I felt so bad.
He is one of those people that you don't do that to him. You just look at that guy and you're like, no. You don't break this man's heart. You know, like there's just something that's like kicking a puppy. I'm sorry, and I don't mean to call James like he's a puppy. I'm just saying he's a good person. He's got such a good reputation within the community and stuff, and he's so passionate. And it's like, you know, to see somebody who has that much enthusiasm and creativity to do that, and it's like, yeah, great. You know, and I understand the legality. There's always that stuff, but. It's like I'm very happy. I've gotten to talk to him once or twice, and I think he's a great guy. So the fact that this is like an avenue that he can do this with it's like, you know, he's got my money just for the fact that I want to see him succeed with this.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you know, to do this to him, you know, whatever the motivation was, and it's just such a cold thing, and it's such a wrong and petty thing to do, you know, to take this action to say, you know, all this work that you've done, all this passion that you have for this brand that you've supported, and this brand that you've built up and supported for years and years and years, you're done. You know, you can't show it to anybody. I mean, it's just an awful thing to have happened to him.
Yeah, so I do like that this is like the, you know, it's almost like fate's balancing it out for him now, and he'll get his chance in one way, shape, or form. So yeah, and honestly, the overall, the journey of this, the creative journey that he goes through to do this, and in general is actually interesting to me, just being, you know, an artist as well. Like, I like to see the creativity and the behind the scenes of all that stuff. I love the DVD extras on those movies I own and stuff. So on top of that, that's even fun for me to also get to have like the behind the scenes and seeing how, you know, his mind came up with how to get this all to work and give you like the fans that here's that extra episode that you never had. and it's like a love letter to everybody who grew up back then. And I'm sure the minute that the credits start rolling and we see the He-Man logo, and then all of a sudden it's like, this is one you've never seen before. Yeah, it's gonna trigger some nostalgia, feels like crazy.
Oh yeah.
From what I've seen of it, it is just incredible, and it's such a rare and special treat that he's given us, that he's shared with the entire Masters of the Universe community. And I feel like it's like, do we even deserve this? What did we do? This giant Christmas present that he's given to us, and all the luck to him in the world to be able to hopefully be able to show off his work to as many people as possible.
Oh yes, I mean, he's fantastic. I have his unauthorized guides that he made for the Filmation Masters of the Universe that he self-published, besides his Serial Geek magazines. I mean, every time I went to San Diego Comic-Con, that was my reading material to and from on the plane, just his work. And I'm hoping that he'll put out another issue. I know he said it is on his to-do list. But also the fact, like, he helped me understand and how to collect the animation cells and how to tell if they're real or not. Because the big thing that's going around right now on eBay is fake animation cells.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. And people don't realize that they're getting a fake. And you have to be extremely careful, because with the animation cell, if it's a Filmation, they will have all the numbers at the bottom. I'm sure Sunbow and the other animation houses do too. But they're painted with the details first going to the background of the character, where most people would think, oh, we paint the skin color and then going forward. No, that's not how the cells work.
Oh, I see.
And I've actually had someone come to me about a year ago. I was at a swap meet, and they're showing me cells. First thing I did was flip it over, and I said, "This is a fake."
You needed Pixel Dan.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't going to be that
more gently than that.
Well, I'm still trying to finish my third panorama Filmation cell, so I'm hunting down certain cells, and one of them happened to be there, and that's why I flipped it over, because it would have cost me a pretty penny if it was real.
Wow. And of course, most people wouldn't think twice about it, and so that's really cool that you were able to know the difference through the reading material. Yeah.
Well, also just asking James simple questions, and he was able to help guide me through it. Where nowadays it's like, okay, I can pick it out.
Right. Nice.
Because I noticed, I think it was last week or the week before, James even pointed out to someone, that's a fake cell, from looking at a picture on Facebook.
Huh.
So he really knows his Filmation stuff, actually stuff, all animation really from the 80s, not just Filmation.
Oh, yeah, he does. Absolutely. He wrote the book on it.
Yeah. Not many people can say that and actually have that apply. That's It's like, talk about cred. Jeez.
Well, and it's interesting that that original book that he made was an unofficial book. He didn't get permission to write it, and yet that was fine. And it led to official work that he could,
Mm-hmm.
Could do for, for the brand.
Yep.
And so for him to come to this other project and say, oh yeah, I did the Serial Geek and I did the books, and this is just a continuation of my hard work, my passion for this brand, and nope, can't do it. All that work you put in, just dump it down.
He was hired by DreamWorks to do the YouTube channel for the Masters of the Universe and all like that. I have a feeling it was when DreamWorks was bought by Universal that they didn't care.
Yeah, I guess not.
Well, is it a case of, because he did the book, it's like he's using, yes, he's using photos and stuff for the book, but it's his own words?
No, it is solely all words. There's not one picture.
That could be one
picture in your picture.
That maybe is why, because the only thing, and granted, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not even going to start that, but just making it into like, okay, they used the Filmation likenesses of everybody and even, tracing however they did, they recreated the work that went into the animation. That could be part of why the issue is, I'm guessing, because that's a likeness thing of they own that likeness of He-Man or whatever. But yeah, part of it I think
is with the switching companies, one company being bought out, because when he started the project, it was still under DreamWorks. DreamWorks was still independent.
Gotcha. And that makes sense too.
And it was right when Universal bought DreamWorks that all of a sudden he was pushed off the YouTube channel. And he had already released parts of Act 1, so people had seen it. That's why the ones that are showing up again, I don't think they can touch them, because that was released prior to the cease and desist letter, and it was on all out there in the public. But it's Act 2 and 3 that no one has been able to see.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The thing about it too, like in the last couple weeks, not to tangent too much, but we got the Snyder cut for Justice League. And, it's like there's an element of like, well, if we can pull that off, how can't we just do that for He-Man? Like, it's like we're not a huge community compared to the people that were, it's mind-boggling how this works, and how one thing is a win, the other thing is a loss, but we're going to try to figure out a way around it to make it a win now, and with the documentary. But yeah, it's right. Like, it's corporate. It's all corporate, and that's kind of why I just go, and I throw my hands up 99% of the time. And what was their minimum they're hoping to get for Kickstarter? Do you remember?
I don't remember what they said on the interview. Mm-hmm. I know the Kickstarter page just says coming soon.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think those details have been officially baked yet.
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean, they are teasing that you can get it on Blu-ray, DVD, or VHS.
Yeah, I like that. Ron McCallum actually, when they did the Q&A, and he was talking to people, and in the chat, that was one of the questions. And then literally like 2 days later, they're like, yeah, if you want on VHS, we figured out a way to do that. I'm like, that's awesome. The fact that you listen to something.
If I remember, it was your co-host, Matt.
It might have been, yeah. I don't know. He gets into all this stuff, and then we get into bar fights. I don't know what the heck happens half the time, but yeah, he throws this stuff out there, and it's actually it is a great idea, because out of anything out there, it's a new episode of the cartoon. It's like a lost episode, technically, if you want to call it that or whatever. So the fact that we owned how many VHSs of that, if you were lucky enough to get them as a kid, it's like, man, why not? That's a great sales